Hello, Dr. G here from naturalfoodsdiet.org. Today I'm going to discuss one of the things that's a major contributor to our chronic disease and obesity epidemic that we have here in Western nations. I can almost guarantee that your healthcare provider completely ignores this topic. So here, today, you need to listen up, as this will make your life healthier and happier, if you can put the simple recommendation into practice. Now be sure and listen till the end, because I'll summarize what you need to do to get this amazing benefit. According to scientists, humans have been on the earth for about 2 million years. If you think of the original humans from the beginning, that's 2 million years ago, up until about 10,000 years ago, they had something that was in common during that entire span. So let's consider a day in the environment of the early human. The human had to walk everywhere he or she wanted to go because there were no cars, trains, planes, boats, or even bicycles. You really had no choice. You had to walk. Or I guess you could run or crawl, and in rare instances you could swim. There were no grocery stores or restaurants. So if you wanted food, you had to chase it down, dig it up, climb up a tree and get it, or somehow procure food that you wanted to eat, and then you'd have to carry it. You couldn't put it in a shopping cart and roll it around on wheels because there weren't any wheels. And how about that kid that you have tagging along behind where there weren't any strollers? You had to pick the little sucker up and carry him or her if you didn't want him eaten by a lion. And because you had no plumbing, if you wanted a drink of water, you had to get down to ground level and drink from the surface of a creek or pond, or you may have scooped it into a container to carry it. Now, I don't know if you've tried carrying water, but it's freaking heavy. There weren't toilets to quickly wash away our wastes magically with a twist of a handle. You'd have to squat down and defecate on the ground. And if you're particularly sanitary, you might dig a little hole to bury it in. And what if you had to migrate? Let's say the food supply ran out in the valley where you were living. This meant prolonged travel while carrying or dragging all your personal possessions. And what about fights and defending yourself against bullies or a predator? There were no police, there were no park rangers, there was no one there to protect you, and there was no ultimate equalizer, the gun. Another aspect of our life that we always have to support is the weight of our own bodies, because we didn't have chairs and we didn't have beds. We were adapted to sitting and sleeping on the ground. Now, don't you think that sitting on the ground or sleeping on the ground might change your shape? Now, I know what you're saying. Dr. G wants me to go live in a cave and eschew the modern miracles of modern life. People are so smart that we have designed everything for comfort so that the modern human doesn't ever have to be uncomfortable. But what I'm saying is, if you go this route and you opt for all the modern conveniences, this is going to have a huge impact on your health, and your life will truly, at some point, become extremely uncomfortable due to disease. You see, that 2 million years of adaptation has caused our body to be constructed the way it is. So up until about 10,000 years ago, where we've sort of started to change things, humans had to perform all the activities that I mentioned in order to survive. Our body developed strong hips and the ability to squat, the ability to throw, to run, to climb, to swim, to lift heavy objects. The 2 million years designed the shape, size, and range of motion of every one of our joints and tendons and muscles that support it. It also sculpted our nervous system and our other internal organs. So what happens if you don't do the movements that were necessary for human survival? But for modern humans, It's just uncomfortable, and we want to avoid it. Here, I would insert our modern disease epidemic, including cancer, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmune disease, spine and joint diseases, all of which I can tell you by personal experience, being a practicing physician for the last 30 years, these diseases are off the charts in incidence. New science in the area of quantum electrodynamic theory and cellular biochemistry tells us that movement stimulates mechanical and flexoreceptors and other stress receptors, along with generating piezoelectric signals and flexoelectric signals that affect our structure. These signals affect the expression of our genes through epigenetics. I guess another way to put this that would be a lot simpler and shorter is use it or lose it. What happens if you spend all day at work and let our modern conveniences do everything for you? The result will be disease. And not only the hip and knee will need to be replaced and you'll blow out your discs, but you'll also get diabetes, neurodegenerative disease, or cancer, or any one of the many other scourges of our modern civilization. But then you say, Dr. G, I know I'm at work all day, but before work, I run 6 miles at a 6-minute per mile pace on the treadmill 4 days a week. I know I can be healthy with that. Well, for that person, I would answer, yes, it looks like you're really good at running fast on a treadmill, but I don't think that will help your health that much. That even goes for elite athletes, because of the repetitive movements don't give us the variety that I mentioned before that we need to develop a healthy body. I would tell that person that running on a treadmill indoors is foreign to your musculoskeletal system and it's foreign to your senses. I mean, think about it. You're running on an abnormal surface that's perfectly flat, and there's abnormal neurological inputs. I mean, where in nature could you run a 6-minute mile with a rubberized, moving, flat surface and your eyes sense that nothing's moving at all? Okay, I can't quote a study proving that running on a treadmill is bad, but I would always err on the side of safety and go with what Mother Nature gives us. There are no perfectly flat, moving, rubberized surfaces that I've ever seen out in nature. If you find one, please comment on it below this video. The bottom line here is you need to envision what a primitive human had to do in order to survive, and duplicate it if you want to have the health which you were sculpted to have. This means the average individual has to compensate greatly for how modern life is screwing us up. We need more barefooting, running, jumping, swimming, sitting on the ground, climbing, lifting, walking, squatting, crawling. And this should be done out in nature as much as possible. And it should be incorporated into daily life. Not 1 week, once, or 1 hour, once a week. In other words, multiple times a day. It's simple. Duplicate what you're designed to do, or you're going to pay a heavy toll as you age. In future videos, I'll discuss some of the simple things that I do to duplicate the natural movements of a human in a natural environment. Now I know there's probably a skeptic out there. I can just hear them saying, Dr. G, I've evolved past the caveman. My thumbs are perfectly flexible for cell phone use, and my hip and spine are happily, permanently shaped so I fit well in my recliner. And that's what I have adapted to, and that's what I want. Well, I would say to that skeptic, it'll take a lot longer to epigenetically adapt to your new environment, which is the environment where we don't need to lift a freaking finger, well, maybe a thumb. But I predict that this new environment, this modern environment, if we adapt to it, we won't look that great. We won't make the cover of Men's Health magazine or the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated. I envision that person who is well adapted to modern life will look more like a snail or an oyster That's an animal that doesn't have to move much. Now, my prediction actually is that the sixth extinction that's going on now will likely include humans if we don't wise up. This is Dr. G. If you like this kind of health information, please subscribe to our channel. So get out there and move like your early ancestors did if you want a disease-free life.